Anyone up YouTube, welcome back to a new video with Rams fan YT. Thank you, first of all, I want to say, for the 175 subscribers. We've really had a load of people joining the channel over the last 5 or 6 days. So thank you if you have subscribed, and welcome to the channel where we talk about mainly football. We do various things, but mostly this season it seems to be me doing predictions. So do let me know if you want me to carry this series on next season, or whether you want me to go back to maybe a more traditional thing with a history of your club. Maybe you want me to do a different series. Over the lifespan of this channel, we've done various different things for football. We've done trivia videos as well. But alas, today we're doing some predictions. We've got a lot of predictions to get through, a lot of important games as well, heating up in title races, automatic promotions, playoff pictures, relegation, all sorts, and an EFL Trophy final, of course, to predict. So let's start off with tonight's matches. We've got Blackburn Rovers versus Sheffield Wednesday. Well, Blackburn have really dropped off a cliff over the past few weeks. They've lost the last 5 games on the trot. Clearly, since the loss of Eustace, although even during the time with Eustace, they've been going downhill. And the not very bright decision to appoint, I think it was Valérien Ismaël as the manager of, yes, Valérien Ismaël. It was just never going to work, I don't think. I think you look at his last spell in the Championship at Watford, didn't really do a very good job. Only got 1 win in 10 league games at the end of his spell, a win percentage of 29.27%. He's not the same manager as he was with Barnsley. And to be fair, he didn't even have a full season at the helm for that. So in today's game picture, we've also got against Sheffield Wednesday, which lost against Hull in the last week. And it must be said, you look at the club at the moment, they may be getting a points deduction. I think they've got an immediate transfer embargo because they've not paid their wages. It's also 12th v 13th, so it's a very interesting game to sort of predict. I'm going to say 3-1 Sheffield Wednesday. I just feel they're slightly better at the moment on the pitch. And one thing you can't fault Sheffield Wednesday players for is fighting through adversity, of which they seem to have had for the last 5 years or so. Bristol City versus West Bromwich Albion. This is an interesting one. 6th v 8th. This is one of them playoff 6-pointers I was talking about, with West Brom currently 3 points outside the playoffs, but with a vastly superior goal difference to Bristol City in 6th. I think they're going to cancel each other out here. I'm going to go with a 0-0 draw. It's pretty boring, I know, but I think both of these reek of great quality. Burnley, top of the league at the moment. They are hosting Derby County, who, my beloved Derby County, are in 21st, just hovering above relegation zone on goal difference, and may well drop back into it tonight. But barring a defensive mishap, which meant that we lost against Swansea last weekend, Derby have been doing a solid job recently. We had 4 wins on the bounce before then. And if we can go back to that, I think we're going to put in quite a solid defensive display. But I'm not convinced of us going forward, to be honest. I'm going to say that we're going to drag out a 0-0 draw against Burnley. Because, I mean, you look at it, there's other teams around us who have picked up or nicked off the odd results. You see Oxford United winning against Sheffield United on the weekend. I think Leeds have stumbled recently against a few teams struggling to pick up all 3 points. So why can't we manage to get a 0-0 draw? Let's have a bit of optimism around the place. Norwich City are hosting Sunderland. Norwich in 11th. They're pretty much mid-table, but I think Sunderland, they can't really get higher than 4th. I mean, there is 6 games left to go, but realistically, they're not going to be able to close the gap on the automatic races, and they're not going to drop out the playoffs either. So they probably will view this as a bit of a free hit. So I'm going to go 1-0 to Norwich City. Preston North End versus Cardiff City. I mean, we have seen, haven't we, with Preston, that they're a very mediocre team, sitting in 14th. They are a bit wild and unpredictable. And Cardiff actually have something to play for. The team below Derby at the moment, just below that dotted line on goal difference, and have picked up over the last 3 games 5 points. So I do actually think Cardiff will gain all 3 points here. I'm going to go 2-1 to Cardiff City. Sheffield United are hosting Millwall. Millwall in 9th. They either win or they lose at the moment, and it's hard to tell. But against Sheffield United, they've definitely got an eye on the title. They're only 1 point behind, and I think Sheffield United are going to bounce back from the shock last week and win this one 2-0. Stoke City versus Luton Town in a relegation 6-pointer. Luton in 23rd, Stoke in 20th. 4 points separating these two teams. We could really do, as a Derby fan, with a draw in this game. I don't, alas, think that's going to be the case. I'm going to go home advantage here. Stoke to win 2-0, which I wouldn't mind because it would mean that Luton stay in relegation zone. So, yeah. Watford versus Hull City. Watford have not got anything to play for. They're in 10th. They're 7 points off the playoffs. I think it's a bit too much of a tall order for them to manage to get into this. Hull aren't safe from relegation, only 3 points above the drop zone themselves. I'm going to go with a 0-0 draw here at Vicarage Road. Middlesbrough versus Leeds United. Leeds are sort of hitting a bit of a stumbling block, and I think it's going to be a very competitive game against 5th place Middlesbrough. I'm going to go end-to-end, an exciting 4-3 win to Leeds United, getting them back to winning ways. But it will be very interesting if Middlesbrough do win that one, because I think Leeds may be falling apart again, as the song goes. On to League One, we've got Bolton Wanderers at home to Rotherham United. Bolton are in 6th. They're very inconsistent, though. Over the last 6 games, they've won 3 and lost 3. Rotherham have won the last 2, though, and ever since they parted company with Steve Evans, they have sort of come a bit to life. So I think we may see the winning bounce continue. 2-0 to Rotherham United. I mean, it would be very interesting if Reading can continue getting deadlines and then end up in the playoffs. What will happen? The EFL will have to make a decision then, won't they? Wigan Athletic versus Exeter City, 16th versus 19th, although Wigan have got a game in hand to play against the whole rest of the league apart from Birmingham City. So, I mean, Wigan are underachieving. I think that is fair to say at the moment. You look at the size of club and the history of Wigan Athletic. They're not a team which you'd expect to be on the cusp of relegation to League Two. They've got Ryan Lowe as a manager. He came in only relatively recently. I think it's too much to judge so far on it. He was only appointed on the 12th of March. But you look, he's a very attack-minded, gung-ho manager. And I think against a team like Exeter, Wigan will win this one. 2-0 to Wigan Athletic. But yeah. Huddersfield are hosting Wycombe Wanderers. This is going to be an interesting one because both of these teams have dipped slightly recently. Wycombe have dropped out of the automatic zone into 3rd, and Huddersfield have dropped out of the playoffs into 8th. So it's a very vital 3 points for both of these teams for their respective challenges. I think Wycombe do win this one. 3-2 to Wycombe Wanderers. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that they get back into it. I think it's very hard to tell at the moment between the two teams because Wycombe have got a game in hand. If they win that, it's then reduced down to 3 points. So I think this could even come down to goal difference, actually. We could be seeing it getting that close for the 2nd place position. Mansfield Town versus Leyton Orient. Leyton Orient aren't beyond the realms of playoffs. They're 6 points away. They've got a lot to do, though, and it's a must-win game, therefore, against Mansfield Town in the bottom half of the table in 17th. I do think Leyton Orient win this one 2-1 to the O's. A prelude to the EFL Trophy final, Peterborough United are hosting Birmingham City at London Road. So maybe a bit of a warm-up match and maybe a bit of a shock for Birmingham, because I'm sure they definitely have they probably think this is going to be quite a routine, casual game and probably have got an eye on the final. Peterborough, meanwhile, I think might want to prove a point. And you think Birmingham have been such a good team at the moment. I just think that unbeaten run must come to an end at some point. 3-0 Peterborough United at this point, which would be disappointing for Blues fans. That would be an understatement. But would you want to, if you're a Birmingham fan, would you rather the 3 points tonight, or would you rather win the EFL Trophy final? I think that's the question I would pose to any Birmingham City fans. I know I would certainly take the EFL Trophy over the 3 points because they're so far ahead at the moment. The final League One game tonight is Shrewsbury Town hosting Reading. I just feel like the sucker punches keep on coming for Reading at the moment. And they did get an extension, but that's always looming over them. And I think now Shrewsbury are pretty much confirmed relegation. I think they might play with a little less pressure and actually win this one. 3-2 to Shrewsbury Town. It's too little too late for the club. They're going to finish bottom of the league. They're just cut adrift now. And just a matter of time before it's a mathematical guarantee. Only a League 2 game tonight is Chesterfield versus Gillingham. Chesterfield have been on a really good run of form. If you look at the moment, 18th place Gillingham have had 5 draws in a row. We'll come to that in a minute. But apart from last weekend, where Chesterfield got whipped about a bit by Tranmere in a bit of a shock result, they were on a really good unbeaten run beforehand. And I think it'll take a bit of time to recover after such a shocking loss. And as I said, Gillingham have had 5 draws. Let's make that 6 draws. I'm going to a really combative 3-3 draw. Aldershot Town versus Boston United. Well, we had the EFL Trophy final, didn't we? Well, not final, sorry, semi-finals over the weekend, just gone. And Aldershot were competing in there. And I want to congratulate them because they did make it to the final, having won 2-1 in a 93rd minute winner by Barham. Little bit of controversy concerning that in terms of a red card, which has later been rescinded now. But they're in the final, Aldershot, and you can't take that away from them. And you look in the league as well. I think, for me, Aldershot are a team which are on a real upwards trajectory at the moment. They're in 13th place, but they've really got their act together and picked up a lot of points recently. But Boston aren't a team which are beyond the wit of survival. They're only 1 point below that dotted line. And I actually would say at the moment in time, Boston I would back to stay up over Woking. Not Woking, sorry, Wealdstone. Just the reason I say that is because there's suddenly come this bit of fight at the club. And I think they're going to pick up a point here. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. Oldham Athletic are hosting Woking. Woking will want to put together the disappointment of getting knocked out of the semi-finals. And what is a better place to do it when Oldham Athletic? It seems to be a bit of a poison chalice this season, the playoff positions in the National League and the same with National League South, actually, but the National League particularly. Whenever a team seems to be doing well in the playoffs, we suddenly hit that point of getting to 4th, and then they suddenly start shaking a bit. And I think we're going to see a shock 1-0 win for the Cardinals. Sutton United versus Rochdale. I think another shock's on the cards here. I think Rochdale may be getting a little bit. There's a little bit of inconsistency with the club at the moment because I think on paper their team is good enough to be 4th in this league, but that's not been borne out on the pitch every single week. I mean, defensively they're good, but they can't score. And I think that's the main problem with Rochdale at the moment. So I'm going to say Sutton United win this one 1-0. So yeah, another shock in the National League. In the National League North, we got Curzon Ashton versus Spennymoor Town. That's obviously because Spennymoor managed to get to the FA Trophy final, creating history in the process. Huge congratulations to the County Durham-based team, obviously. And this is an important game as well. 10th place Spennymoor versus 5th place Curzon Ashton. I've been mentioning for the last few videos that Spennymoor are one game in hand away, and this is a game in hand, but 4 points from the playoffs. They win this one against Curzon Ashton. Difficult task, must be said. Curzon Ashton 5th. But if they win it, they become 1 point off the playoffs, and you'd certainly bank on them at the moment. They're an informed team. They're one of the best forwards attacking team. Actually, I think they've scored, apart from Kidderminster Harriers, they've scored the most amount of goals in the National League North. That is huge. So I do think Spennymoor win this one. I'm going to go 3-0 Spennymoor. And I'm going to say that they're going to reach the playoffs. Because I don't think all the other teams can. There's always that odd team, isn't there, which sort of sneaks into the playoffs. And I've been saying for a few videos now that they're going to be that team. So I'm going to continue and sticking to my guns with that. I may be exposed a bit of as a fool in a few weeks if that doesn't happen. But so be it. Tomorrow night, we've got Oxford United versus Queen's Park Rangers. Well, that's an important game in the relegation picture. QPR not beyond the realms of safety at all. They're in 16th, but only 5 points away from relegation zone. And they're currently the team, other than Blackburn, the worst formed team in the league. And I certainly wouldn't. I would say they're an interesting team. I reckon they could probably end up going up a spot and finishing in 15th and getting mid-table, or they could just carry on nosediving the way they are. I think this game is most important in regards to that. Oxford United are at home at the Kassam, and we saw how good they were at home, putting Sheffield United to bed in the last game. And there's only 1 point separating these two teams. I think Oxford's going to come and romp QPR out the park. 4-1 to the Bulls. Swansea City versus Plymouth Argyle. It's going to be typical, isn't it? Derby can't pick up a win at the Liberty, but Plymouth do. And so I'm going to go Plymouth to win 1-0. It's just got it written all over. Because for Plymouth, which at ages looked like they were long and dead, they're now 4 points away from safety, and actually a team you can't write off either. Coventry City are hosting Portsmouth. I'm pinning a bit of my hopes on Coventry to win this one because I want Portsmouth to also get dragged down into it. And I think they might do. I think, especially seeing Derby playing Portsmouth at the weekend, we'll come to that later on in the video. But our old mate Lampard, give us a hand, will you? You need to get back in the playoffs. We need the bit of shell shockness, but not too much that they come back with a response. We're going to go a timid 1-0 win for Coventry City, which I think will please both Coventry fans and hopefully Derby fans alike, because it would sort of make it maybe a bit easier to play Portsmouth. I hate this League 2 Thursday night malarkey, which seems to keep on enduring. What is actually going on with about League 2 Thursday night games? It's such an oddity. Someone needs to explain. Well, give me your opinions if you like it or not, because I'm not a fan. Crewe Alexandra are hosting Cheltenham on that day. That's what the fixture is, and I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw in that one. Partly because Crewe have sort of hit a stumbling block over the last few weeks, and they're down in 9th now, having at one point been maybe possibly automatic promotion challengers. They have certainly stumbled downwards a bit. I reckon they'll probably roughly finish where they are this season, just outside the playoffs. I think Cheltenham need to get a point as a minimum because they have lost the last 4. So yeah. Burnley are hosting Norwich City. Burnley have got the best defence in the Championship. I think that is worth picking out on this. They've only conceded 12 goals. That is mental. They're silently going about their business. They're not high-flying scorers like Leeds are, but they're doing it. They're like the clean sheet merchants, we'll call them, because they're actually defensively a very solid team. We've always expected that from Burnley teams ever since Sean Dyche was at the club. And so, yeah, up against Norwich, I think Burnley do win this one. 1-0 to Burnley. Notts County versus Salford City. Yeah, Salford actually, I don't think will be on the realms of getting into the playoffs. They're 7 points away from it. I think it is a bit too much, but I think if they win today, it applies the pressure. And also, I just want the Nottinghamshire team to win. To lose rather. I want a Nottinghamshire team to lose. Make that very clear. So I want Salford City to win this one 2-1 to the Ammies. We've got a Premier League game, Man City versus Crystal Palace. Manchester City of having a bit of a rotter this season. You look at them, they're very inconsistent. They've dropped down to 6th now with Newcastle winning last night. And Newcastle have a game in hand as well, so they could very well get into Champions League. So, yeah, I would love to see Manchester City sort of not get Europe. But at the same time, if they don't get Europe, that means Nottingham Forest have gotten Europe. So in the same breath, I will say that I want Manchester City to... I want Chelsea, Newcastle and Man City to all leapfrog Nottingham Forest and Nottingham Forest to drop down to 6th. They can take Europa League, that's fine. But it's not an easy task against Palace, who are a team which haven't lost in the last 5, got 4 out of 5 games in a victory. So, yeah, I'm going to go with a 2-all draw here. They are missing a few players, Crystal Palace, after some very naughty behaviour. Guehi got sent off, as did Nketiah. So, that won't help them. But I think they will still grind out a point. Brighton and Hove Albion are hosting Leicester City. Let's just face it, the bottom 3 have been going down all season. Them bottom 3 that are currently occupying the bottom 3, almost since game week 5, have been guaranteed to go down. Oh, apologies for that. When you sneeze, you can't really do much about it, can you? But I think you see Leicester's lost the last 7 now, 7, 8. Certainly lost the last fair few, too many to count, and too many unpleasant experiences, including losing 3-0 against Newcastle last night. So yeah, you think Brighton will get back to winning ways? They haven't lost 3 in a row for a couple of seasons now, I don't think, because they've been a very decent team, Brighton. I think Brighton will win this one. 5-2 to Brighton at the Amex. Nottingham Forest versus Everton. Everton have got draws galore over the last few weeks, but they've had some difficult games. Other than a Merseyside derby, which they lost, which sort of almost a predictable one. Their results, it's just one of them things now that I don't think it's the worst team on... What am I trying to say? I don't think that they're necessarily going to be relegated, and also I think that they could get something here. They're going to get their draws back into wins, and I think they will. I think, when you get given manager a month, you often get the most rockiest month that you've ever put in. I think that's going to happen with Nottingham Forest. I'm going to go Everton to win at 1-0, and yes, I'm biased as I'm wearing a Derby County shirt. Southampton versus Aston Villa. Southampton have been awful. They've sacked Juric, I noticed, and now that relegation was officially confirmed this weekend. That will be talked about more in a future video about the promotions and relegations. Now that Southampton's officially down to a championship, they've got nothing left to play for other than pride. I think they may be defensively a bit more solid in this game, but I still don't think they're going to win. I'm going to go 1-0 Aston Villa. They've won the last 3, and they're certainly wanting a team which is wanting to get to Europe. Whether that's via the Champions League or the more likely route will probably be via performances on the pitch. Arsenal are hosting Brentford in a London derby. Arsenal in second. Very much likely to finish the season in second. I think that's fair enough for everyone to say at this point. I think Brentford ain't an easy game, but at the same time, it's a mid-table team. I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal. Yeah. In the Championship, you've got Leeds United versus Preston North End. Yet again, I'm talking about a Leeds team which may be capitulation. I think Preston are a team which may start hitting a bit of a bad run of form, actually. I'm going to go 2-1 Leeds United. I just think Preston are completely safe now, and so I don't know if it's mathematically certain that they're safe. They're 7 points clear. It's not mathematically certain, but you'd say it's 90% certain now that they're in mid-table. They're a team which is going to end up in mid-table. So yeah, 2-1 win to Leeds. Plymouth Argyle versus Sheffield United. Sheffield United, please do us a favour. I think you can. I don't think it will be an easy or entertaining game on the eye, but we're going to go 1-0 to Sheffield United. Cardiff City versus Stoke City. Another 6-pointer in a relegation zone. 20th versus 21st. So if Stoke lose them too, they are very realistically going to be relegated. You can't lose against, I think it's Cardiff and Luton, isn't it? You can't lose against both of them and expect to stay up. So I'm going to say that Cardiff's going to win this one because it's home advantage and slightly, I mean, they're about the same on form. But I think Cardiff want this more. Home advantage, as I was saying, 2-1 Cardiff City. Luton Town versus Blackburn. It's great that Blackburn are on a bad run of form at the moment, isn't it? Because typically Luton will win this one. Go 2-0 Luton because I just think you look how bad Blackburn is at the moment and they're in free fall. It would be slightly ironic if they got relegated on 52 points, which isn't mathematically beyond possibility. I don't think that they're quite mathematically safe, but it would have to be something humongously gone wrong for Blackburn to be relegated. But it would be slightly entertaining. I think that's all fair to say. Millwall versus Middlesbrough. I'm going to back Middlesbrough to this one. They're still in that playoff hunt. You know what? 4th v 5th. Sunderland v Middlesbrough in the playoff semi-finals. We'd love to see it, wouldn't you? Because one of the powerhouses in the Northeast will be playing in the final if the fixtures completely stopped and the season ended today. That was what would be happening. I'm going to Middlesbrough to win this one at 3-1 to Borough. Millwall's not beyond the realms of playoffs, but you just look, they've not scored anywhere near enough to be able to be in that picture. In fact, in terms of goals scored, they're second worst in the league, only scoring 39. So yeah, that's something they need to correct. Portsmouth versus Derby County. We're at Fratton Park. We've completely sold out the Fratton Park away end, as you would expect Derby fans to do. 17th versus 21st. I'm worried that we're going to get a draw or a loss, but I think I wouldn't want to get a draw either. I want all 3 points in this one, but I think we're going to get a draw. I think we're going to go with 2-2 draw, which is not ideal because if my predictions are correct, would be back-to-back draws, and that would stick us right back into the relegation zone picture. And then we'd have to pick ourselves up. And a lot of people are saying that the games might the survival may come down to goal difference, actually, in the Championship, which means we would stay up because we have a vastly superior goal difference to Cardiff, Luton, and Plymouth at the moment. We've even got better ones from Portsmouth, Oxford, and Stoke. So, in goal difference terms, I'm not too worried about that because we do tend to keep it fairly safe at the back. It's just we don't always win games which we should be winning, and one of them is against Portsmouth, unfortunately. So, yeah, I'm going to go a 2-2 draw. I hope I'm wrong with that one. I hope we do win that one because if we do win that one and we get a point against Burnley, that's 4 points. That's suddenly making things look much better. On to Queen's Park Rangers versus Bristol City. think QPR get a draw in this one, a 0-0 draw. I can't quite rationale it, but sometimes these things do just happen. I mean, the draw specialist is, other than West Brom and Preston, the joint second amount of draws. Behind that, or it'll be joint third because both West Brom and Preston are drawing. But Bristol City and Burnley are drawing on 15 draws apiece. So yeah, 15 draws. I think that's actually just showing the weakness on the positions from 5th downwards, actually, that teams on 60 points are currently in the playoffs. You'd normally expect it to be much higher at this point in the season. So yeah. Sheffield Wednesday are hosting Oxford United. We're going 0-0 draw here. A very, very dull, very boring game. Neither team quite making the most of opportunities, and that's what I'm going to dub this game as, a game of rude missed opportunities. So yeah, 0-0. Sunderland are hosting Swansea. I'm going to say Sunderland continue to have a bit of a wobble and Swansea to win this one. 2-1 to the Swans. West Bromwich Albion versus Watford, 10th v 8th. You've got to say that if West Brom want any hope of playoffs, they need to win this, and I don't think they're going to. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw, which doesn't do the Baggies any favour. Watford are too far away now to make the most of any opportunities that they may have initially had. They've always been that sort of 10th place team this season, haven't they? Just a little bit out of reach of the playoffs. Wigan Athletic versus Wrexham. You got to say that Wrexham win this one. I did back Wigan in the last one, but I don't think up against Wrexham, certainly not. We're going to go 3-2 to Wrexham. Wycombe Wanderers versus Stevenage. We're going to go with Wycombe's inconsistencies to continue. And in danger, they really could drop down to anywhere down as 5th if that continues. But I think Stevenage get all 3 points here. 1-0 to Stevenage at Adams Park. Barnsley versus Bolton Wanderers. I'm going to back Bolton Wanderers to win this one. Barnsley have been dreadful of late. So yeah, we're going to go 3-1 to Bolton Wanderers. Bristol Rovers versus Exeter City in a bit of a southwest derby. The important game for Bristol Rovers to win this one because they're only 3 points from relegation. And I actually do think they might get relegated this season because I think Burton could stay up. Certainly better defensively than Bristol Rovers. For that reason, I do think that Exeter's going to win this one. 3-2 to Exeter City. It's going to be an entertaining game. Firecrackers all round. On to Burton Albion versus Huddersfield Town. It's going to be difficult for Burton to get all 3 points here, and I am going to have to say Huddersfield to win this one 1-0. If they want to get playoffs, realistically, they're going to have to be beating teams like Burton Albion to be able to reach them. If you're not beating Burton Albion, then you're not going to be able to get to the playoffs. That's simple as. Cambridge United versus Charlton Athletic. A team who's going to win this one, I think, is Charlton Athletic. I think that's fairly obvious. We know Cambridge have come to a bit of form of late, but I think it's a little too late in all things considering. I think they could probably overtake Crawley, but yeah, they're still going to get relegated. 2-1 to Charlton Athletic. Talking about Crawley, they're up against Leyton Orient. Leyton Orient still got late hopes and ambitions for playoffs, and I think they could manage it. We go a 1-0 win to Leyton Orient. It could go right down to the end of the season, some of these results. You're looking Bolton, Reading, Huddersfield, Leyton Orient, and Blackpool. Any of them, 5 teams, is it? 5 teams could swing open playoff races wide open, especially if they do end up playing each other, certainly. Lincoln City are hosting Shrewsbury Town. Well, Shrewsbury's down and out, so we're going to Lincoln to win this one. 3-0 to the Imps. Northampton Town versus Reading. I'm going to go with a shock. Why not? We're going to Northampton to win this one by 3-1. We'll go with a shock factor. It does happen. Every league has its shocks. So yeah. Stockport County versus Rotherham. As I said, Rotherham on a good run of form, and I think it's going to be a very competitive draw because both of these teams are very good at the moment. We're going to go 3-3 draw in this League One encounter. Doncaster Rovers versus AFC Wimbledon in League Two. This is a very important game for teams who are wanting to get into the automatic zones because it's 4th v 5th. Doncaster are 2 points out, with Walsall hitting terrible run of form at the moment, and Wimbledon are 4 points outside the automatic zone. So yeah, whoever wins this could feasibly manage to get themselves into an automatic zone. I don't actually think it's beyond the realms of any team down to Notts County to seize the title at the moment. There's only 5 points separating Bradford City in 1st and Notts County down in 6th. Do I actually be bold and say how I see the season finishing? I'm going to say that Walsall get back to form, win the league. I'm going to say Wimbledon come 2nd, Notts County come 3rd, Bradford come 4th, Doncaster come 5th. The Port Vale drop down to 6th, and then Chesterfield to be the team to sneak into the playoffs. That's at the moment how I'm seeing it going. But I could be completely wrong and probably will be. It's so unpredictable. Anyway, on to this game, Doncaster over versus Wimbledon. We go home advantage to Doncaster. So completely scrapping what I've just said in essence. 1-0 to Doncaster Rovers, pushing them into that automatic zone. I mean, do have a game in hand, to be fair. Swindon Town are up against Bradford City. Is the whoever team which comes into first curse going to start coming to full effect? Could well happen. I think you look at Swindon, they've had back-to-back wins. They're a team that haven't given up hope yet of just being competitive in this league. 2-0 to Swindon Town. And put it this way, Swindon fans were complaining at the start of the season that it was going to be a long old season, but they were probably going to get relegated to the National League and be a horrendous thing. We're in 14th, which, okay, admittedly, it's mid-table. It's not much to cheer about. But it's not relegation zone form anywhere near that. So, yeah, I think if you're a Swindon fan, you could be mildly happy about where you finish. Accrington Stanley versus Tranmere Rovers. This is an interesting one. 21st versus 22nd. With, I think it's Morecambe v Carlisle as well. It is. So we could see things very interesting because if whoever wins Morecambe v Carlisle suddenly closes a gap that could be 4 points or it could be 5 points. So, sorry. If Morecambe win, they can close the gap to either 3 points or 4 points, depending on the results of this game, which we're about to predict. If Carlisle win, they reduce the 5 points or 6 points, depending on which teams these two win. So this is actually an important game as well, especially if Morecambe do win. I'm going to go Accrington Stanley to win this one because I just feel like Accrington Stanley are slightly better. They're worse in defence, but they're better going forward, although Tranmere did prove me wrong last weekend. But we're going to go and back Accrington to win this one. 4-1 to Accrington Stanley. Will be fascinating if that does happen. But it could be completely the other way around. Barrow versus Walsall. We're going to go Walsall's rotting form to continue and Barrow to win this one 2-0. Chesterfield are hosting Fleetwood. I think Fleetwood could win this one. I think do Chesterfield suddenly start hitting bad run of form, which would be a really bad time of the season to do so. 1-0 to Fleetwood. Gillingham versus MK Dons, 18th versus 19th. No one really cares about what happens in this game. 2-1 to Gillingham. They've just been mildly better recently. That's all I can say. Harrogate Town versus Grimsby Town. Grimsby are clutching onto that 7th place, even though they have a -1 goal difference. They have got a horrendously worse goals conceded than pretty much every team in the top half of the table. You can't say that's down to poor performances. That, well, you can say it's poor performances. That's poor performances by the defence, isn't it? But attacking wise, they've done a decent job. I am going to have to therefore say that Harrogate's going to win this one 1-0 to the Sulphurites. On to Morecambe versus Carlisle. I actually think Carlisle will win this one. I can't quite pin my finger on it. I just think they might do. I'm going to go 2-1 Carlisle United. Newport County versus Colchester United. Almost a Chester United there. I think Newport County win this one. I can't pin my finger on this. I just think Colchester may have overextended themselves at an earlier stage of the season and now going to maybe slump back into mid-table. 2-1 to the Exiles at Rodney Parade. It's home advantage as well. Port Vale versus Bromley. We go a 0-0 draw, which mainly because Bromley are going to scrap for it. I actually think Bromley have been one of the very impressive teams at the moment. I mean, you can say they're in 12th place, but they had a good FA Cup run. And also, it's their first season in the Football League ever. And they've adjusted to the league quite well, I think. So, yeah, a 0-0 draw. On to the National League, we got a North London derby, not Spurs versus Arsenal. We got, well, it's more Northwest London, Barnet versus Wealdstone. And that's what makes this game so much more unpredictable, in a sense, because you ignore the fact that although Barnet did lose the last game against Braintree, which was a bit of a shock, they are certainly, they're still 8 points clear, and whatever happens, I think from now to the end of the season, they're going to win the league. That's pretty certain. It would need a monumental shift in performances for Barnet to be suddenly so complacent that they suddenly drop out, and it would be so unfair on them if that happened, and would make all the more cases for a 3-up, 3-down system. But beating Wealdstone would put that all to bed. But you've got to say that Wealdstone aren't going to go down without a scrap. We're going to go 1-1 draw here. I just think, I know it's at the Hive, but I just think Wealdstone could get something from this in a local rivalry. Yeah. Boston United versus Altrincham. I'm going to have to set back Alty to win this one. They're a team that, you know what? I think Halifax, I'm still not convinced about Halifax's scoring record. And I think they could drop out of the playoffs, and Altrincham would be the team for me to back to take their place. So yeah, I'm going to go Alty to win this one, 1-0. Dagenham and Redbridge versus Hartlepool. I mean, Hartlepool are 6 points off the playoffs. They need some desperate form. And to be fair to them, they're unbeaten in 5 and they've won the last 3 on a trot. So, and up against the Dagenham and Redbridge team that is very out of sorts, I think you've got to back Hartlepool from this one. 1-0 to the Pools. Ebbsfleet United versus Sutton United. Well, the pressure's off of Ebbsfleet, and now it's just for pride. And I think they're going to get a draw here. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. Halifax versus Maidenhead. Although I said Halifax may drop out, I think up against Maidenhead, they surely are going to win this one. They are hitting a bad run of form, but maybe this could be enough to turn it around. We'll see. 2-1 to FC Halifax Town. Rochdale versus Eastleigh. Eastleigh are just hitting bad run of form at the wrong time. And that's why I'm going to back Rochdale to win this one. And they're better in the league, to be fair, Rochdale. 2-0 to Rochdale. Southend United versus Solihull Moors. I think Southend are a team that, if they suddenly run rampant in this one, that will be enough to spark some good form. And I think they actually will. I think you look at Solihull, they're dropped down to 17th. They've sort of all ambitions for them of whatever, playoffs, whatever, they've gone out the window. And so, yeah, I'm backing Southend to win this one. 5-0 to the Shrimpers. And that certainly puts them well in contention to getting into the playoffs. Because they're only 1 point off the playoffs. And the team that's in form alongside Tamworth right now. So there's certainly a team which you can't eliminate from that question at all. Talking about Tamworth, they're up against Braintree. Now, Braintree are a difficult team. They're in a good run of form. In the last 6 games, they've won 4 and lost 2. I'm going to go for a draw. They've not had a draw in a while, so I'm going to go with a draw. A 0-0 draw for Braintree. Doesn't help Tamworth's playoff hopes. But at the end of the day, I don't think back-to-back promotions would actually do Tamworth. I don't know if it's back-to-back-to-back. But it's certainly... if they got promoted from into League Two, would be back-to-back. And I don't think that would be helpful for the club. I just think they needed this season to adjust to National League football, in a sense, and they've done that quite well. So, yeah, I don't think it's been a disappointing season from anyone concerned. Woking are hosting Fylde. I think Woking win this one. I think Fylde are pretty much down at this point. I don't think much can save them. 3-0 to Woking. Yeovil Town versus Oldham Athletic. Yeovil are dropped down to 15th. They're not doing well. We're going to have to back Oldham for this one. We're going to go 3-0 Oldham Athletic. York City versus Aldershot Town. I mean, York, while the title is still not mathematically guaranteed, York need every single win. So I think York are going to win this one. 1-0 to York City. Alfreton Town versus Peterborough Sports in the National League North. I'm more hoping that Alfreton have come back into some good form because they have not lost now in the last 3. Only one loss in 5. They had a bit of a disappointing run of form about a month ago. Was sort of when it roughly ended, or seemed to be, in retrospect now, ended. It was still draws and stuff, but now it's not as bad. They're up against Peterborough Sports, who are above them in the league, but I don't think there's actually huge differences in quality. I'm going to have to say that Alfreton to win this one 2-1. Got to back for Derbyshire teams. Chester versus Darlington. Darlington in 11th, Chester in 4th. I'm thinking a draw, in all honesty, with this one. A 0-0 draw. Chorley versus Marine. I think Chorley win this one. I think, although Marine on a good run of form, they lost their last game, and that could probably signify a start of a slump, especially against a team like Chorley, which have in playoff ambitions. 3-1 to Chorley. Farsley Celtic versus Kingsley Town. Unsurprisingly, Farsley Celtic's relegation has been confirmed after what isn't now 13 games without a single point. They conceded 100 goals. Is anyone really surprised? I mean, I'm going to be talking more about both Warrington's and Farsley Celtic's relegation in a future video, but I mean, it's got to be down as one of the worst seasons. To be fair, I'm going to say that Farsley are going to get a point here. Now the pressure's off, maybe they might start performing. We're going to have a 0-0 draw here. Kidderminster Harriers versus Cursed Ashton. I know Kidderminster are only 1 point off the playoffs and the title, and probably good money for them to get it at this moment in time with a better run of form. I just feel like we can't wipe out Curzon Ashton. 2-1 Curzon Ashton. I don't know what's making me say it, but I just got a nagging feeling that they're gonna. There's still twists in the tail to go until the end of the season. Leamington versus Radcliffe. Radcliffe aren't clear of safety at all, with 10 points above relegation zone, certainly, but they're only in 20th. So they're going to need to carry on winning until that's mathematically a certainty. And then against a team like Leamington, it's certainly possible. Leamington have lost the last 3. 2-1 to Radcliffe. I think they will stay up. I think the bottom 3 are going to be the bottom 3. Said that for quite a while now, I think. Yeah, you would back Radcliffe to stay up at this point. Need a Market versus Russell Olympic. Now, what could change that is a team, well, either of these teams winning this fixture and then going on a phenomenal run of form and hoping that other teams do not. So, yeah, I think I'm going to say Russell Olympic win this one 2-0, just because they're better on form at the moment, having not actually lost in the last 3 with 2 draws and a win. So, yeah, I'm going to say Russell to win. I do think they're relegated. They've left it a little too late to stay up. Oxford City versus Hereford. You're going to say, despite Oxford City's recent amazing run of form, Hereford are going to need to get into that playoff positions, and they will do everything in their powers to do so. 2-1 to Hereford. Scarborough Athletic versus Buxton. I'm going to go with a shock Scarborough win. They've only lost once in the last 5 games. So, yeah, 1-0 to Scarborough. Little bit of a shock. And you know what? I don't think... I've not spoken to any Buxton fans, but I would actually say, as a person who supports Derbyshire teams, I don't want to see Buxton in the playoffs. Because, I mean, it seems ridiculous. But if you go into the National League, it's a heck of a lot of expenses to pay. Most of the teams are professional. Buxton, as far as I was aware, are not professional. And to be fair, to be competitive in this league is great in a sense. And if they get into the playoffs, suddenly all their team gets started taking apart. Their manager probably jumps ship to some National League club, maybe a team in Greater Manchester region, maybe even going to Chesterfield if things go out of control in Chesterfield. You know what I'm trying to say? Or taking over Burton Albion after they get relegated and don't have a start of season. You know, things happen, and but if they don't reach the playoffs, all of that talk goes out the window, because it's like, well, the team's not going to reach the playoffs. Why would you take a manager? That means that they can build for next season and be even better. Now, it seems ridiculous to deny yourself the playoffs, but I just think you look at it from a purely standpoint of they've not actually been in the National League North that long. And look at some of the teams who've been in here much longer. Brackley, Curzon Ashton, Chester, Chorley and Hereford. All of the teams from 2nd down to 7th have been in the National League North for years and have failed to get up. Hereford's been a mainly mid-table team. The rest, and so is Curzon Ashton, to be fair, but the rest of them, playoff-based teams, the rest of the 4 of them, isn't it, have been up there season after season and have failed. So yeah, I think what they need is to continue building as they're doing at the moment. And clearly going in the right direction though, which is great to see. Scunthorpe United versus Spennymoor. I think this is going to be a shock result here. Well, it may not be a shock because Scunthorpe are top of the league, but I think for the scoreline I'm predicting, you may be a bit shocked. I'm going to 6-0 to Scunthorpe. Now, Spennymoor are a good team, and I've waxed lyrical about them for so much this season. But you got to say, Scunthorpe are going to now full steam acceleration ahead. Because if Scunthorpe don't, then they know Kidderminster will catch them. So yeah, they're going to apply pressure, and therefore Scunthorpe are going to have to power through every single fixture. South Shields versus Southport. Yep, 15th versus 19th. Now, South Shields have lost the last 5 games in a row. They've done a horrible season, let's be honest. And I actually think South Shields are going to break this run of form, this dreadful run of form, and turn it around by a win here. 3-0 at the Ninth Cloud Arena. I mean, it's a good atmosphere when things go well. So, yeah, hopefully a good result. I mean, I saw Southport fans going on the way back from this match not much early in the season last season. Sorry, not much late in the season. It was the last game of the season, I think I saw them at. Or maybe not last, but a couple towards the end. It was certainly around about a couple of weeks from now. And Southport came... I mean, I don't think they really cared that they didn't get all 3 points from what I was gathering on a Metro, because the result that Boston had meant that South Shields didn't get the playoffs, something like that. And it just was mental to see these Southport fans, these ultras, I would call them, going absolutely mental on the Metro, not caring at all on the fact that they just lost a game. So yeah, Warrington Town versus Brackley Town. Warrington are now relegated, so pressure off, and the pressure was actually on Brackley to get the title because they're 1 point behind. Slightly cracking the pressure, I'm going to say Brackley for a 2-2 draw. Bit of a shock, eh? Bath City versus Dorking Wanderers. We're going to go Dorking Wanderers to win this one. I don't think it's too many surprises. Why? They're 2 points off the title. I'm going to say it now. I think Dorking win the title. I think they've scored 80 goals this season. They have been the best team. Now, I know they're not in points-wise, but in terms of actual quality on the ball, Dorking are the best team in the National League South. So yeah, 2-0 to Dorking Wanderers up against a Bath team which got nothing to play for down in 16th. So yeah. Boreham Wood versus Hemel Hempstead Town. I think a team which needs to make sure they don't drop out the playoffs is Boreham Wood. Now, they can score for days. They've scored 72. They just can't grind out the result necessarily. Or they can't grind out to get a draw. They've actually lost 12 games, which is not good enough, really, to be in the playoffs. A few of them draws need to have been... Sorry, a few of them losses need to be made into draws. So yeah, I'm going to say Bourne would do win this one, though. The playoffs is too much of an ask for Hemel Hempstead anyway, although they are on a good run of form. 1-0 to the Wood. Chelmsford City versus Enfield Town. 11th versus 20th. Now, St Albans can still catch up with Enfield, and I actually think we're potentially looking at both Welling and St Albans to overtake them. I actually think. I still have this niggling feeling. I know Enfield are doing well right now. I just have this niggling feeling that they're going to drop back into it. They've lost 22 games this season. There's a reason that they're down there. And I'm going to have to say Chelmsford City to win this one. 1-0. Ending Enfield's run. Chesham United versus Farnborough. Chesham are in 14th. Farnborough in 9th. But Chesham on a much better run of form. I just think Farnborough, playoff dream is a bit over, but they're still going to want to end the season well. 3-1 to Farnborough. Hampton and Richmond Borough are hosting Welling. Hampton and Richmond in 18th, although they've lost so many games on the bounce now. It's actually outrageous. They're hosting Welling, and Welling are down in 22nd. We're going to go a 1-0 draw. If Welling get all 3 points here, as I said, survival hopes still well and truly on. Hornchurch versus Truro. We're going to go Truro to win this one. 2-1 to Truro. Yeah, because if they wanted to have the title, they're going to need to win against teams like Hornchurch. Maidstone versus Weymouth. Well, Weymouth are relegated. Out of this picture. Bye-bye. You will not be covered on this channel next season. But Maidstone, they're a team in the playoffs with playoff hopes. 2-0 to Maidstone. I think it's nothing more than I think you would expect from a team playing off pushing-wise. Salisbury versus Aveley. Now, Aveley's been relegated for a week or so now, and the pressure's now a bit off, so they can sort of play a bit more. And the pressure is actually still on Salisbury, who are only 3 points above relegation zone. So I'm actually going to go here a 2-2 draw, which is not what Salisbury will be wanting. But if Aveley still have stories to create in this league. Still, the fates of other clubs can be determined by them. St Albans City versus Eastbourne Borough. Both of these teams got stuff to play for. St Albans City are down in relegation zone with 3 points. With a better goal difference, would lift them out of relegation zone. Eastbourne, however, 2 points off for title. Still got title ambitions. So you look at either of these teams. both got away 3-2. It's going to be a very exciting game, though. Torquay versus Slough. I'm just going to say that Torquay are going to have a slip up there. I mean, call me outrageous, but I think Slough are an odd team. We'll go 4-3 Slough. Very competitive, very exciting game. Probably not for the Torquay fan, though. Western-super-Mare versus Tunbridge Angels. We're going to go Western-super-Mare to win this one. They're on a really good run of form. You can't quite discredit them for the playoffs. They need to get defensively better. But I think, yeah, if they carry on winning in the way they do, they will definitely be knocking on that door. 3-1 Western-super-Mare. Worthing versus Chippenham Town. Chippenham mid-table. You know the spill. But Worthing into a title contention. They dropped out of the title place over last weekend. It's a bit of a cursed position to be in. So I think they may get back into that position of fighting for it. 3-1 to Worthing. Onto the Premier League. I'm going to say it. Chelsea are going to whip Ipswich Town. 7-0 Chelsea. Absolutely huge, dominant performance by the Blues. The Tractor Boys are down and out. Liverpool versus West Ham. After the upset that Liverpool had against Fulham over the weekend, I think it's got to be said that Liverpool are going to well and truly dominate against West Ham here. I think they're going to get back to winning ways and big. 5-1 to Liverpool. West Ham are down there. They're not going to get relegated, but they're down there for a reason. Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Tottenham Hotspur. A relegation 6-pointer. Okay, I am being slightly tongue-in-cheek. But, I mean, you look at Spurs, they're in 14th versus 17th. It's not... There's 5 points separating these two teams. Yes, Spurs have been much better, both in an attacking-wise and a defensive-wise. But Wolves are actually the team on form. They've not been beaten in the last 4, won the last 3. I think you look at it, I'm going to have to back Wolves to win this one. 2-1 to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Newcastle United versus Manchester United. Mid-table Manchester United versus Champions League fighters Newcastle. Okay, how many people, in all honesty, if I said that in 5 years ago, around about 5 or 10 years ago, you know, back when the Newcastle were relegated from the Premier League under Mike Ashley's tenureship, and Manchester United were just coming towards the end of their highs of a Fergie era. How many people would have thought, you know what? Newcastle. I can see Manchester United being mid-table in the Premier League and Newcastle in the Champions League. If you say you did see that, you're a liar. I'm going to say Newcastle to win this one. 1-0 to the Toon Army. On to Birmingham City versus Peterborough United, the other time round, but this time in the EFL Trophy final. And I think it's going to be a competitive one, end-to-end game. 3-2 Birmingham City. I just think, you know, they're going to win the double, Birmingham City, because they've actually taken this competition more seriously than I would have thought they would have. So, yeah. AFC Bournemouth versus Fulham on the Monday night. I'm going to Bournemouth to win this one, 3-0. I just think Bournemouth's run of form at the moment just needs to be slightly corrected. They need to get back to that winning formula, and I think they will do this at the Vitality this week. Hull City versus Coventry. We're going to have 1-1 draw, which is not ideal. I hope Coventry win this one as well, but they're not going to win them all. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you are new around here. Thank you for all the subscribers already. We'll have my promotions and relegations video coming up tomorrow or Thursday, sometime around about then. I have written a script. It's just whether I get round to actually recording it. But yeah, do comment your predictions down below. And as ever, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.